Let's talk about the R&D aspect of things. Another aspect about your company that keeps coming up when we read about it is how much research and development is central to your success. Can you break that down for me? What does that mean in operational terms?
Early on, as I mentioned, a lot of the R&D or development was on the process side, because we got a very rudimentary process from CFTRI, so we had to keep refining it. So that is where a lot of the technological development happened, which had to combine both with efforts in the lab as well as in the scale up in production. So technology evolved around that, and so we had chemical engineers and people and the chemists in the lab working towards it. And for us to be known in the world, we had to have some unique development that was happening in the lab, where Dr. James Surgis, as I mentioned earlier, was very instrumental in making sure that we had a lot of publications on various products that we were doing. So we were consistently being seen in international magazines in terms of technology developments and process capabilities and the product. One other aspect is also that all of these spices have hundreds of components in it. This pepper oil would, if you do a gas chromatography of this essential oil, you would get about 50, 60 or maybe 100 different components. Now each of it has its own function. So to go do a little more deep dive understanding of each of those and how that enables pepper oil to be of that quality. So we did a lot of work on that at the lab level, so that how we can differentiate our product and also do some isolation work. So that is where the initial R&D was. Then the subsequent challenge or opportunity was, as the world started moving towards more cleaner products, which today is becoming big. We started very early. People wanted products that are processed without any solvents. So today you can make a black pepper oleoresin without using a solvent. You can use supercritical CO2 to extract. Or you could have Synthite as a patented technology where we use what we call straights, which is used for extracting the color from the paprika without using any solvent. So those technologies became very popular. Now they've become popular, but these investments we made way back in the 2010 period, where we were working on both on the technology and the science side of extracting isolation. So today, I would say in terms of processing capabilities of clean label ingredients, Synthite would be I'm sure the number one company worldwide in terms of the different technologies that we have in isolating spice extracts or plant extracts without using any solvents, or what we call the clean label. So that was one part of the research which mostly happened between, I would say, 95 and 2010. Then we started looking at technologies like fermentation, which probably in the next 15-20 years would be big, because a lot of these active molecules today that you're isolating from a spice or a plant could be made by fermentation process, where you have a carbon source, you have the microorganisms working in the fermenter, and you can make the flavor. To give you an example, from rice bran you isolate ferulic acid, and then ferulic acid in a biofermenter using microorganisms can be converted to vanillin. So you get a vanilla flavor or a vanillin by this bioconversion. There's no chemicals being used. It's still called natural, or EU natural, it's EU compliant. So in the future, a lot of these molecules could come through that process. The other interesting source for natural ingredients would be algae. A lot of the algae, I think in the world there are about 1,600 different algae, but only 40-50 are being commercially explored today. Where, like for example, the blue color, which is phycocyanin, comes from an algae called spirulina. So we developed the technology to do a process where an organic compliant extraction can be done. So even beta carotene, which is a natural color, can be made from algae. So a lot of technologies around, processing ingredients from algae is a technology. So what I see as the future opportunities in terms of whether it's fermentation, algae-based extracts, or clean label, we are pretty active in all the three spaces, which could be disruption. Like any industry, there's a lot of disruption happening. In our space of flavors and fragrance, the disruption opportunities, at least we are there in all of these. We have front-ended, or we are actively there in all of these technologies.
So what's the educational background of the people who are working for you? Which sector and across how many disciplines are you attracting people to work for you?
Today, in terms of the process, it's chemical engineering, mechanical engineering work is good. Then in chemistry, we mostly look at MSc chemistry, biochemistry, organic chemistry, depending on what stream we're working on. Very interestingly, I thought I should mention it here. We've been working on a particular product from green coffee for a world-renowned coffee company. I don't want to name it at this point, but it took us 6 years to get there. But it was only 2 days back we cracked that opportunity and we made the product. They gave us a brief. We did a lot of iterations, but they were very specific about what needed to be done. But we persisted on it for 6 years, and 2018 is when we got the brief. It was only 2 days back we got a major order, which is like, at its full potential, could be several $1 million. The first order itself is about $4 million. So that is the kind of opportunity that you can create purely because a lot of companies are looking, at least in the food space, health and wellness space, is looking for natural ingredients. Though these could also be made chemically, people want to look at natural ingredients because of the naturalness, especially post-COVID. People want to do, everyone wants to eat healthy and eat natural ingredients. Mostly people are looking at even antimicrobials, antifungal ingredients, antioxidants. You can make chemical ingredients for all of this, but people want to move to natural. So that is where the natural ingredient opportunity in the future is significant.
You said this thing took you 6 years to crack. Yeah. And without revealing what you're not comfortable revealing, but can you tell us what kind of brief you get? How do you start working on it? Why aren't you giving up by year 3 or year 4? Can you just chart that journey for us?
Yeah. We got the brief that, there are a couple of ingredients in coffee that is very special. But when you roast coffee and then extract, the coffee flavor comes. So they wanted these ingredients isolated when it's in the green form itself.
Before roasting?
Before roasting.
Okay.
So that when you extract, you don't get the coffee flavor. There's no coffee flavor in it at all. It is for those active ingredients from coffee. So it had to be from a named source. So even if you're boosting the active ingredients in, maybe not necessarily in coffee, but also in other beverages, they didn't want the coffee flavor to come, but these active ingredients to kick in that application. So it meant that the variety of coffee being used, the process being used, which had to be organically compliant, they wanted a product in a certain liquid format. So all this took not only the process capability, but also the technology to preserve it. We had to make an extract which retained a lot of water in it and to be able to transport across the ocean. So we had to create a understanding and technology to preserve that product in that state. So it meant a lot of activities to get to the final product. So that's why it took such a long time. But again, it was for a major coffee company, so it had to be perfect. They had to be sure of everything. But ultimately it's worked.
Can you tell me some more examples of things that have happened in the lab that have translated? Because you've obviously added product upon product to your initial catalog.
Right.
Can you think of some instances where particular breakthroughs in the lab translated into huge gains commercially? One was the paprika example that you mentioned. That was one.
Yeah, paprika is one. Chilies, which was not traditionally used, we were able to convert that. A herb called rosemary, which again India doesn't grow much, so we have to import. So there is 3-4 different antioxidant components in that.
In rosemary.
Mm-hmm. So isolating each of them separately. One component is oil soluble, the other part is water soluble. So being able to isolate them separately so that you have an antioxidant for water soluble applications, you have an antioxidant for oil soluble applications. And again, because most of the processed food industry today does not want to use synthetic. And again, then you make that products functional for each of the different applications is very, very interesting. And today, again, the Trump administration is looking at banning natural synthetic colors in the US.
Right.
Which would be the next big thing. If that change does happen into 27, 28, then it would open up a lot of opportunity for, again, replacing synthetic colors with natural colors won't be that straightforward. Color, physically you would get it, but in terms of stability, cost and use. So being able to make natural, but being able to make it cost effectively would be the next big thing. So we are doing a lot of work on that, in that direction.
Let's move to your recent support for university department in Kerala. So now this is where R&D is going out of the factory or out of your company purely into an academic space.
Right.
Tell me what brought that about. Why did you move into investing in a university? What outcomes are you looking at? Tell us about that.
As I mentioned earlier, the bio manufacturing is a future in many areas. In pharma, it's very big today, already very big today. It's coming in our space. So looking at biomanufacturing, which again is very, very high tech. So today we don't have, if you look at India, in the biomanufacturing, in the pharma space, there's a lot of people. But in terms of other areas, we don't have enough people with understanding on the biomanufacturing or synthetic biology and biomanufacturing. And the technology with computational biology getting better and, the computer systems getting better, the iterations can be much faster in terms of product development. What it took about 7-8 years for a biotransformation product in the past, today it can be 2-3 years, provided you have the right people. So Kerala, I believe the future for Kerala would be in knowledge-based industries, and having technology and people develop for that technology would be very important. So that's why Synthite invested in the Aju Jacob Center for Synthetic Biology and Biomanufacturing, which is a department by itself in Cochin University, which is fully autonomous to run the program. University supporting all the university aspects, but the program itself is designed by the center. We've got a good team of professors to start working, and this year we're going to start the first MTech program in synthetic biology and biomanufacturing, which will be the first one in India for that matter.
Okay.